And here now in the studio to further discuss the latest anti-BDS bill passed in the U.S. House, we have Ziv Maor, chairman of the Israel Media Watch, and Naphtali Bensimon, journalist and member of the Likud party. Thank you both so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
So Naphtali, I'll actually start with you today. What does the United States have to do to get other nations to pass similar legislation to this?
Just to talk logic and say that it didn't work for many years and it will not work for another years. Because we are living in a global world. And in this global world, products and goods are from any other countries, including Israel, including from the West Bank, including from the Palestinian territories like Gaza Strip or something like that. So you cannot boycott anymore a country. You can boycott if you want as a personal, if you want not to sing in a country, or if you don't want to write an article. But the whole BDS campaign, it's all about headlines, articles, no more than that. It's not effective. It doesn't work. I didn't see that it harmed the Israeli economy, and I think it's time to say and to admit. Not only the Congress, yesterday in the United States, but also the European market and the EU to decide that boycott, it's not the solution to reach peace in the Middle East.
Well, if the question is how could the U.S. influence other countries, well, the answer would be sheer plain diplomacy.
Well, so let's maybe change the question a little bit. Is this law really in the benefit of Israel? Because on the face, I believe it is, and I believe in its intention, I believe it is. But a lot of people would argue that forcing people in one way or another to abandon the boycott might just galvanize people on the other side to take up arms.
Well, first of all, as Naphtali just said, BDS is not about harming Israel economically. It is about legitimizing anti-Semitism. It is about crafting out a position that would be morally legitimate, but in its core, it's distinguishing against Jews. This is what it is, what's all about. The movement never had enough economic power to harm us. But what we are being disturbed by, and why we encourage, the reason for which we encourage such legislation is the fact that BDS legitimizes anti-Semitism in its core. Now, what such legislation does, again, it does not protect Israel's economy. It makes a statement. Anti-Semitism is wrong, regardless of how you call it. And some people will go, no, this is not anti-Semitism. We are against racism. This is what we do. This is what they're going to say. But there are other spectators that see this and decide what is legitimate and what are the boundaries of the legitimate discourse. And this is the importance of this bill.
So how would you answer people like Rashida Tlaib, Ilan Omar, the congresswomen who are opposed to this BDS legislation, who argue that this violates their freedom of speech?
Well, I'm glad that they're coming to visit Israel. And I'm glad that they will see in their own eyes that it's nothing to do with what so-called apartheid or with depressing the Palestinians. It's all about anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli policy. And it's gonna fail like it's failed many years ago. And in my opinion, it cannot work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. It's something that we, the Palestinians and the Israelis, we are more tolerant than the BDS movement in the United States and in Europe. This is the paradox of the whole conflict, that here, in this area, in this small area, we and the Arabs are talking. In Europe, we are not able to talk even. They are boycott us. They say, no, you have no legitimacy even to speak or to make your voice, to make your statement. So this is the paradox, and it should be end by legislation.
Now, okay, I don't want to draw any false comparisons here, but for the sake of argument, what is the difference then between, say, BDS, and again, you mentioned that maybe the main difference is anti-Semitism, but what is the difference in practice between BDS and, say, a government sanctioning another government?
Government, it has all the rights to make some sanction. It's like between Europe and Russia and Iran and United States. It's okay, it's all between governments. But here we are talking about a worldwide mood that it's targeting Israel because we are a Jewish state. No more than that.
Now, I must take this last question about the difference between one state boycotting or sanctioning another to the BDS movement. Well, at the core of it, there is no difference. The difference is in the merits. What are you sanctioning and what are you protesting against? If you raise the flag of BDS, you are an anti-Semite. Now, if you are government that, for whatever reason, Iran also boycotts Israel for anti-Semitic reason, it is illegitimate. Now, the United States and Europe go the same way against Iran for the same reason. This is legitimate. The question is not the tool that you use, but your end, your mission. If you're anti-Semite, it doesn't matter what tool you use, your cause is illegitimate and should be banned.
I see. All right, so now kind of moving back towards proponents and the opponents. As we said earlier, there were very few people who were against this bill, even fewer abstentions. So this was, by and large, very, very, very widespread bipartisan support. What does this say about the fraction that's currently happening in the Democratic Party, though? Because I know that there was a lot of issue, with Nomar, Rashida Tlaib, Ocasio-Cortez, etc.
Well, first of all, I think it's fair to say that in the American politics, such as in Israeli politics, the parties are diverse and have their shades within them, and I cannot proclaim to be an expert to what's going on within the Democratic Party. But I must say that when I look at those numbers, what you said, 300 and something against 17, then I'm very optimistic. I think that I before those numbers, I thought that the Democratic Party, we've basically lost it, and it turns not to be the case, and I'm happy about that.
I would like to add something. It will be a very grave mistake from the Israeli diplomacy to attack or to criticize the Democratic Party in the United States and to say that they changed the direction and they are against Israel. Let's invite them us here to Israel and let's talk to them. Let's make a dialogue. Not to boycott any other party, not Democratic, not Republican. Just come here to see in your eyes and think different.
All right, and on that note, I think that's a good place to leave it. Naphtali Bensimon, Ziv Maor, thank you both so much for coming in.